Hello.
What's up, friends?
Welcome back.
I got the farts.
And I've been sneezing, so now I sound congested.
She's allergic to my farts.
Alright. This episode, we are doing another little bit of a documentary deep dive. We watched Devil at the Crossroads, the story of Robert Johnson.
Yes.
It was one of their remastered documentaries. And my personal major takeaway was, I don't know that the devil's involved.
Me either. But, so, as we're telling the story, some of you may say, this story sounds familiar.
Yeah.
And it did to me very much so as I started watching it. I watched this, last week.
Yeah.
And I got to thinking about it. So, any of you that are Supernatural fans.
Yeah.
I think it's the very first episode that the Crossroad demons are mentioned. Touches on this story.
Yeah.
It's the story loosely based off of his story. So I do believe at the beginning of that episode there's a scene that shows a musician playing some music and then
in a cabin.
Yeah. And the hellhounds come to take him.
Yeah.
And I would like to think that that's Robert Johnson's story.
Yeah.
Anyway. So we'll just get right on into it. So basically, Robert was born in Hazelhurst, Mississippi in May of 1911. He was born as Robert Leroy Johnson. He was pretty much born as a poor African-American child. But we later find out that he was a pretty influential name in music's history here.
Yeah.
I don't know how you want to go about this. We just kind of want to go back and forth.
Well, I've also got a website pulled up.
Cool.
That's a review of this documentary.
Oh, there you go. Perfect. That's even better than what I got. So let's just scrap what I got.
So, well, you can use yours, and then I'll do this. So, basically, yeah, it starts out talking about his birth, and there's a lot of interviews of blues musicians and specifically Robert Johnson biographers.
Yeah.
In this documentary, and all of them, I think, almost all of them are musicians themselves. And they talk about how he played the guitar, but not very well. And then all of a sudden, he can play the guitar.
Wow.
But if you don't know much about Robert Johnson, basically he was I don't know if you'd even want to call him the father of blues, because blues as a genre was around, it existed.
Right.
It just, I think he transformed it. So let's see.
Does that get into his backstory, his life, the early years?
That's what I'm looking at.
You want me to start dipping?
Yeah, you can go ahead.
So anyway, he was born. His biological father, Noah Johnson, was a field hand, and his mom, him and the mom never married.
Yeah.
His mom's name was Julia Major Dodds. She was the daughter of former slaves. Before his birth, she had 10 children with her husband, Charles Dodds, who later changed his name to Charles Spencer, and he moved to Memphis because he was running away from some issues with white people. Robert spent his early years, his formative years, going between plantations across the Mississippi Delta region. When he was 7, his mom married Dusty Willis, and he took his stepfather's surname, often calling himself Robert Willis when he was younger. if I'm not mistaken, I don't think it's mentioned here. It's not. I think in the documentary, it noted that Dusty was a sharecropper.
Mm-hmm.
And so he kind of, blues was born in the fields.
Yeah.
So like you would hear the African Americans in the, I said that whole pause, that conversation about my mom that we had on the last episode. I screenshotted it and sent it all to TJ, and he just responded, "I'm so confused." Same.
Yeah.
Anyway, so blues was born in the fields. You'd hear the African Americans in the fields singing.
Yeah.
And it would sound like...
And also, too, like harmonicas.
Yes.
Were easy to use.
It would sound as though they're singing, you know, basically their songs were about the hard times that they were facing.
The blues.
Yeah. So, you know, that was kind of born there. Well, Johnson began playing the Jew's harp and the harmonica before he picked up the guitar. And in 1929, when he was 18, he married Virginia Travis, who was at the time 16. That marriage ended in heartbreak because she got pregnant and he had gone to travel with her to pursue music.
I know. Also too, because she was raised religious and didn't want him involved in music. So for a little while, he gave it up.
Right.
And then she went to a cousin's house to have the baby. And in order for him to travel there, he had to make money. And I think he did that in with juke joints.
Yes. Juke houses or juke joints. But he was like, I promise you, I'm going to be back by the time this baby is born.
Yeah.
When he came back, he found out that she had died in April of 1930 along with the child.
Yeah.
And by the time he had made it back, they were already in the ground.
Yeah.
So that started...
And her family blamed him and his dealings with the devil because of him playing music.
Right. So that kind of started his, what we'll see is a downward spiral with his run of luck here.
But something they mention is the reason that the blues even became associated as the devil's music, blues or rock or what have you, is during this time in Mississippi, all of the husbands are out at the juke joints enjoying music and, a drink or whatever. And all the wives are at church. Or if the wives are at church, the preacher ain't making no money. He's pissed off. He's not making any money. Right. And all the husbands are out at the juke joints making money playing music.
Or they're at home because they were at the juke joint the night before.
Right. And so the preacher was pissed off, well, where's my cut?
Right.
So he started spreading the seed into the congregation of the wives and telling them that their husbands are going to jail or going to hell and, all this, and that's the devil's work. And it was interesting to see that, how that became associated with.
Right. So as you mentioned, he had started playing the guitar as he progressed on into his music. It was the loss of his wife and child that really seemed to drive his focus on the music.
Even though that's what was blamed on their loss.
Right. But he, initially he would start playing guitar and he wasn't great. I think it was mentioned that he, the band would take a break at the juke joints to rest, give people time to rest from where they're dancing.
Sun House.
Yes. They would take a break and then they'd catch him picking up the guitar to try and
noise
play.
and that was one of my favorite terms that came out of this documentary. Was he couldn't even play it. He was just out there noising to people.
Yeah. And so they'd be like, you got to stop. It's not great. Also, you're going to break a string. That's a problem. So they made him put it down. Hold on, I'm reading through my stuff. So, and basically the crowd too would laugh him off the stage.
Yeah.
But Johnson left Robbinsville, which was where Son House was.
Yeah.
And he had a mysterious period of absence.
Yeah.
When he came back, the best thing you've ever seen.
Yeah.
He had...
It was about a year and a half.
Yeah. He had... it was often referred to as the missing year. His playing had evolved into something extraordinary.
Yeah.
He...
nobody else had ever heard anything that sounded like it before.
Right. So they said at that point that he left, and during this period of absence, he made a deal with the devil.
Yeah.
To make him play better. So they're saying he sold his soul at the Crossroads.
That there's no possible way that he could have practiced and just fiddled with it for a year and a half. And there's no possible way he did that. It had to have been the devil's work.
Right.
He's too good.
But he kind of played into it because he later released songs like Crossroad Blues and Hellhound on My Trail that fueled those.
Oh, yeah. That's
those
like
rumors.
I told because Danny watched it with me last night. And I was like, it's fascinating to like watch how, because I said, he was in band and he never learned how to read sheet music. But he could play it by sound.
Right.
And I was like, he could have just went and traveled and practiced and just kind of played with it and created a sound that he had never heard before, but that he thought sounded good. And I was like, and then he gets back and everybody's like, oh, it's got to be the devil. And he's like, okay, I'm going to make everybody think it was the devil.
Right. But it was mentioned later on that, it was mentioned later on that it is believed that he took learned from another
blues musician.
Was it Ike Zimmerman? Something like that.
Yeah.
That guitarist was from the Hazelhurst area. And he was known for practicing in graveyard at night.
Like at midnight.
Because he said, they gonna listen to you. Mm-hmm. They're gonna dance for you. And so, and then honestly, I get it because that's gonna be your quietest place.
Yeah.
At the quietest time to really focus on what you're trying to do. But they said not only was he so good, it was the way in which he handled the guitar, and it was like he came back with a 7-string.
Well, and he had long fingers.
Yeah. So he came back with a 7-string, and that wasn't something that they had ever seen.
Yeah.
Hold on, I'm looking. But you said something about, he probably just went off and practiced, and I'm positive that that's really what happened. There is, I just freaking saw it. There is a book by music historian Robert Palmer. It's called Deep Blues, and it was, I guess, put out in 1981. It emphasizes that his abilities were likely resulted from intense dedication, financial support from an older woman that he married near Hazelhurst, and the exposure to a wide variety of musical styles during his travels. I liked that idea.
Yeah.
Not necessarily the money part, but
Right.
But at the beginning of this movie, or of this documentary, did you see there was that one old lady that they were like, oh yeah, we were seeing each other for a little bit.
Yeah.
We were seeing each other for a minute.
Of course, sure you were.
Right. So anyway, he briefly returned to Robbinsville, and then he moved to Helena, Arkansas, where he played with future legends like Elmore James, Robert Nighthawk, and Howlin' Wolf. And he also became involved with Estella Coleman, who was the mother of Robert Jr. Lockwood, whom Johnson mentored and later became a celebrated blues musician in his own right. But he spent most of his adult life traveling through Mississippi, Arkansas, Texas, Tennessee, Chicago, and even New York City, performing on street corners, house parties, juke joints, lumber camps, and anywhere that would pay him. Yeah. He basically, at this point, he's living that life of the hard up musician.
Yeah.
The starving artist. He did marry a second time to Coletta Craft, although little was known about that marriage. Hold on. There was, and I found this, and I don't know that it was mentioned in the documentary, but I found this in like 2000-ish. Mm-hmm. A court ruling did find that he had a girlfriend. Is it in here? Yes. He had a girlfriend by the name of Virgie Jane Smith, and she had a son whose name was Claude, that they determined that he was legally Robert Johnson's son, confirming that lineage had long been contested. So
the two grandsons that were in the documentary are legitimate.
Yes.
Okay. Because I think Claude was their father.
Yes.
Because I think there was a clip of him, because he said that he had
only met his dad, seen his dad
twice. And the second time, he was only like, what do you say, 6 or 7? Mm-hmm. And it was through the window, because he was living with his grandparents.
And Robert had shown up, and the grandfather went out and was like, no, you're not bringing that devil here. And so he gave him some money because he was doing what he thought was right.
Yeah.
And he left.
Robert gave his father some money for the kids.
Right.
Because he knew that they had the kids.
Right.
Or his son.
Does that documentary, did it go into his recording sessions?
No, it just
not so much.
Not a lot. It just talked about how he only recorded 29 songs, I think.
So his recording career only took place over 2 sessions. And it was with American Record Company. The first session occurred in November of 1936 in San Antonio, Texas, in a hotel room. That was where his first hit, Terraplane Blues, was recorded, and that sold right around 5,000 copies. That gave him the only bit of commercial success that he would ever see. Mm-hmm. And then his second session took place in June of 1937. So I did just to let you guys know, I did read through a little bit more information than what was in the documentary. But the second session took place in June of 1937 in Dallas, Texas. He recorded, like you said, a total of 29 songs. Things like Crossroads Blues, Sweet Home Chicago, I Believe I'll Dust My Broom, Love in Vain, Ramblin' on My Mind, Me and the Devil Blues, Hellhound on My Trail.
Can you imagine hearing those for the first time?
Right.
And back then.
Right. So.
No wonder people thought he was the devil.
Back then, a lot of the Delta blues musicians only used like simple harmonies and rhythms. Johnson played rhythm, bass, and slide guitar parts simultaneously.
And all on the same guitar.
Right.
People were like, I don't know how he's doing that.
Right.
But they think it was because of his long ass fingers that he was able to,
right,
hold it in a certain way.
So they believe that this would later form the foundation for the Chicago blues and rock and roll, influencing, other artists, which people like previously mentioned Muddy Waters and Elmore James.
Mm-hmm.
Do you have anything to add before we get into the climax, the end game here?
I don't think so. I know, like, even there's a recording of Son House talking about how when he came back, like, after the fact and could play guitar so well, that he played at the same, because they were like, who is that skinny little boy walking up there? They're like, oh, that's little Robert.
Yeah.
And then he gets up there and he just blows everybody away. And he's like, it was just so crazy to experience how they're like, he's just noising people before. And now they're like, he's better than we are.
Yeah. And honestly, like, what I like watching these types of documentaries because I like dipping into the history of what makes music what it is today.
Yeah.
But in all honesty, it's not something that I would listen to on a daily, but I can get with the style of music.
Yeah.
I love it.
Yeah.
Absolutely love it.
It's like it's got a little bit of stank on it.
You can't help but make stank face when you listen to some of this.
I told him, I was like, I can understand why certain people like this style of music. Because, like, for instance, his stepmom loves blues music.
Oh, yeah? I didn't know that.
Oh, well, yeah. Like, loves blues music. And I'm just like, you know what? It makes sense. Because it sounds a little chaotic.
Yeah.
Like, so it makes sense. I was like, but it's, it's... without that, we wouldn't have a lot of...
Right.
Because I was like, even thinking about, that, Robert Johnson, that, finger or, roots out.
Yeah.
And other bands and other musicians or, hear his music and then they're inspired. And I was like, and then, it leads into even the Beatles. They were inspired by blues music. And then how many bands and musicians did they go on to inspire?
Right.
And it's just, it's crazy.
Cool to see that domino effect.
Yeah.
But like 10 out of 10, I've been to a blues bar. Mm-hmm. And just sitting there listening to it. There's just something about... I'm not a drinker. I'm not a drinker. And honestly, at this point, we're a dry house.
Yeah.
For the most part. It's on rare... Like, honestly, right now, I don't know that there is one bit of alcohol in my house.
Yeah.
We don't drink. I can sit in a bar. There's something about that nasty bar vibe.
Yeah.
Listening to a live band. And especially the blues, where it's like it gets you in the feels.
Yeah.
And like I said, a lot of it you listen to and you can't help but make that stank face.
Yeah.
Because it's just, it gets in there.
Yeah.
You feel it.
It's like, it's a sort of rhythm that I, as a whitey, am not super familiar with.
I guess.
But well, I get it.
I was raised listening to, like, and I'm not equating these artists to this by any stretch of the imagination, but it gives a little bit it's a little bit closer to it than some of the stuff that you were raised listening to. Mm-hmm. I was raised listening to people like Eric Clapton. Yeah. And, things like that where it was like big on the guitar solos. Yeah. Big on the soul guitar.
I mean, like my dad listened to Led Zeppelin.
Well, yeah.
And like Jimmy Page, for all of his flaws, is a very, very talented guitarist.
Yeah.
So yeah, like, and it's even bands like that. Because I think even in that documentary was, not Mick Jagger, but the other one from the Rolling Stones. What's his name?
I know who you're talking about, and I too cannot.
I can see his face. But like, they even talked about how
Keith Richards,
like inspired, because he was like, we liked hearing, they heard a Robert Johnson song, and he was like, we liked the guitar sound, but of course for you couldn't replicate his sound with a band.
Right.
He was like, so we had to take, this little bit of his song and incorporate that and then build a song around it, basically, and use it as inspiration. And I just thought that even like that it's very cool.
Right. So let's get back into the end of the story here, and then we can get back into more of the influence and stuff.
Yeah.
So basically, at this point, now that he's basically been told, you've got these kids, but you can't do nothing with them.
Mm-hmm.
We don't want you around here. He's depressed.
Yeah.
He's had a run of bad luck. He's not, his music career is all he's got going for him. So at this point, he's traveling from juke house to wherever's going to pay him to play.
Yeah.
He's drinking.
And drinking a lot.
And he likes the ladies. Yeah. He's having a good time.
And he's not exactly humble about it.
Right. So he went into a bar and took interest in this one woman who happened to be the owner of the bar's wife.
Yeah.
And the wife also took interest in him.
Right.
So him and somebody else that was also a musician, maybe traveling with him.
Yeah.
I forget who it was. They
said,
we're sitting at a table. Somebody comes up and brings them a bottle of whatever.
Yeah.
And the other guy, as Robert's picking this bottle up to take a drink, the other guy notices that the seal on the bottle is broken.
Yeah.
So he smacks it out of Robert's hand and he's like, you don't ever drink a bottle that comes to you open like that.
Yeah.
And Robert said, you don't ever knock a bottle of liquor out of my hand again.
A $7 bottle.
Yeah. And proceeds to drink it. Later on, proceeds to get real sick.
Over the course of 3 days.
Yeah. He ended up...
Yeah.
He's hallucinating. He's getting sick.
Yeah.
He's just not there. He died on August 16th of 1938 at a plantation near Greenwood, Mississippi. The certificate listed complications of syphilis, but it didn't provide any detailed information.
Right, and his death certificate wasn't discovered until 1968.
Yeah.
So it was like 30 years, over 30 years.
Right. So really and honestly, his actual cause of death is still kind of fogged.
Yeah.
Because the death certificate's saying one thing, and then you've got all these other people saying that he was poisoned.
Yeah.
There's really nowhere nobody knows where he's actually buried.
Yeah.
There is apparently 3 different churches near that Greenwood area that claim that he's buried there.
Yeah.
But no one knows for sure. But, so now we get back into his recognition and influence.
Yeah.
So during his lifetime, he didn't really get that big.
Right.
He was a local musician, but did have a small loyal following.
Mm-hmm.
But he was mostly known in the rural South.
Mm-hmm.
It wasn't until after he passed away that he really kind of blew up. There was mention in the documentary that someone's dad...
hold on. Yeah, John Hammond wanted to get Robert Johnson to play Carnegie Hall. Is that what you were going to talk about? Yeah. As part of a show that celebrates the history and evolution of jazz music. But when, he sent word to Mississippi to inquire about it, found out that Robert Johnson had died. So in lieu of a live performance, a phonograph was put on a stage and a recording of Robert Johnson's music was played in Carnegie Hall, and people cheered. And really just ate that shit up. They loved it. And it sucks that he didn't get to...
Yeah.
Yeah.
He didn't get to see that for himself.
Right.
But like we were talking about the influence of artists such as Eric Clapton, the Rolling Stones, Bob Dylan, Led Zeppelin, and the Allman Brothers Band, which I forgot my dad listened to them all the time too. They all said that they drew heavily from his work. Clapton most famously referred to Johnson as the most important blues singer that ever lived. And Keith Richards once remarked, "You want to know how good the blues can get? Well, this is it."
Yeah. And even there's a song that Robert Plant of Led Zeppelin, he kind of lifted a little bit of Johnson's Traveling Riverside Blues, the squeeze my lemon till the juice runs down my leg line. I was like, ew.
Some things that I don't know were mentioned in that documentary. In 1990, Sony Legacy released a 2 CD box set for Robert Johnson, the complete recordings, which all went on to sell over 2 million copies.
Wow.
And won a Grammy for Best Historical Album. In 1994, his cultural impact further cemented when the USPS issued a commemorative postage stamp in his honor. And he was inducted into the Blues Hall of Fame in 1980 and the Rock and Roll Hall of Fame in 86.
Damn.
I think it's pretty cool.
Yeah. And also, too, we didn't mention this. He was 27.
Yeah. Part
when
of the
he
27
died.
Club.
So, and what an interesting point, because, you know, one of the guys being interviewed was like, I don't know how much stock I buy into this whole 27 Club thing.
I meant to go back and look to see if you mentioned him.
I was like, I told Danny, I said, you know, it makes sense. Because if you look at his, as y'all know, we went over the list of 27 Club members, and there are some big name musicians on that list. Janis Joplin, Jim Morrison, Kurt Cobain, you know, that kind of stuff. Or those kind of artists. And like I told him, I was like, there's a commonality in the fact that all of these musicians, first and foremost, were doing something new or doing something different than their peers. And that's why their fire burned so bright so quick. But the also is nearly every single one of them dealt with some sort of substance abuse issues. And that's what ended up catching up to quite a lot of them.
Yeah.
And I mean, it's crazy that there's those sorts of common threads that tie the 27 Club together.
Yeah, I forgot all about that being mentioned in the documentary, and I was like, oh, I need to go back on that episode and see if his name, if you did include his name on that list. But it's part of, like, close to the top of the list there. And you even mentioned then, it is unknown how he died.
Yeah.
Because it truly is.
It's, you know, mostly unknown. And there's only like 2 photographs of him that exist. Yeah.
I don't know. All in all, I think that this is one of those musicians that I would give anything to have seen.
Yeah.
Doing his thing.
Right.
At his prime. If he really had a whole prime.
My idea of heaven.
Ooh.
Or the afterlife is just like one endless concert experience.
Man. And of all different genres. Like, it's just...
Oh, yeah. Any artist that I ever, you know, have ever loved anything they've done.
Okay. Go ahead.
or, any artist that, even though it's not quite my cup of tea, I recognize and realize the importance of them to the music industry.
Right.
Would be very cool.
Hear me out. There being different rooms for different vibes to the music.
I could get behind
so
that.
like, picture it, okay? You're sitting, like, you're in one room and you're at Woodstock.
Yeah.
Listening to Janis Joplin.
Yeah.
And then you move over to the next room and you're sitting at the Grand Ole Opry listening to Hank Sr.
No.
And then you move over into the next room and you're in a smoky, grimy bar in New Orleans.
Or the CBGB, seeing the Ramones.
Oh my God.
Like, see?
Yeah.
I'm a firm believer that whatever you believe happens when your time is over is what happens to you.
I hope so, man. I hope it's just fantastic, and I hope it's not just your lights out and that's it. Like, if that's the case, then I won't know. But like,
I have to hope that there's something cooler after this.
Listen, when I go, don't be lying and saying she's in a better place. She was such a good person.
We don't know that. She lit up a room.
No, I didn't. Depends on who you ask. One of TJ's aunts say I light up the room when I walk in because she loves me. But anyway. I really liked this documentary. It's a little different than what we've done thus far.
Yeah.
Less conspiracy-ish.
Yeah.
Not conspiracy, but less dramatic, I think.
Right. Didn't involve children.
Yeah. Didn't involve social media.
Yeah.
But it was a nice little tiptoe dip into something different.
Yeah.
So.
Well.
Time for the nonprofit?
Yep.
Nonprofit of the month. Because the second Friday in July is National Collector Car Appreciation Day. Hagerty Drivers Foundation, dedicated to protecting, preserving, and celebrating automotive heritage at its highest levels. So if that's something that you're into, donate to it. Or, you know what? Let's just, if you're into cars and you got a little bit of money to burn, just help out old boy down the road that's trying to restore a piece of history.
Yeah.
Help them out. Or, you could really help a sister out and donate a 1967 Chevy Impala. Or an El Camino.
I fear those are rare these days.
Yeah, they're expensive. I've looked them up. Or an El Camino. I know a girl that loves the vehicle form of a mullet.
It really is, isn't it?
I love it. I love it so much. That's always been one of my dream cars since I was little. Because it's like the niceness of a car on the inside, but you can still haul things around and look cool while doing it. Anyway, make sure you're following us on all the social media platforms such as Facebook,
Instagram,
TikTok,
YouTube.
Email us at wanderersofweird@gmail.com. Honk honk. Can you get that toot toot? Okay, bye.
Bye.